we're doing in 2016. In the world, we had just had the Rio Olympics, Pokemon Go took over our summer, and augmented reality was becoming mainstream. It was the year Muhammad Ali passed away. And internationally, UK decided to vote for Brexit. Donald Trump was sworn in as president, and also the bombings happened in Nice in France, and Islamophobia was on the rise. But it was the year we founded Mozambique Makers, and it all started simply through this Twitter exchange, where Murtaza, who's actually over there, and was one of the co-founders at the start. And really, that's how it began. We thought it would just be me and him in a coffee shop. Really, how many Muslims in tech were there back in 2016 who would actually be interested? But we packed out the room. And that's how we knew we were onto something. And that's how the first voluntary team began. So in a nutshell, we are a community of Muslim change makers helping Muslims level up across the tech industry and beyond, and it's done through 3 areas: networking, knowledge sharing and upskilling, and we've been featured across a number of different media publications as well. We do a lot of events. Probably over the last 8 years, we've done like 80 plus events, or was it 60 plus? 5,000 attendees. We've had hundreds of speakers, more if you include today. We have chapters, and people always come back to our events. Now, what's really special about Mozambique Makers is actually where people go on and what they go on to do. So back in 2016, we actually hosted a chat with Iman from Onfido. Now, Onfido, I would say, are one of the unicorns of the London tech scene. They've raised loads of money, and Iman's gone on now to also found 2 other businesses as well. We hosted a Muslim Women in Tech panel. Now, let me tell you a story. When we were trying to curate this panel back then, it was hard. It was really, really hard to actually find Muslim women working in tech. Back in 2020, we curated another panel online virtually during COVID. It was so easy. We were like oversubscribed. And likewise with today as well, we had so many women speakers put themselves forward. And it just goes to show how far we've come. On that panel, we had Nafisa Bakar, who from Amalia. Now, Amalia back then was actually a fashion company. That's how early on we were championing them. And they've now gone on to become a massive digital beast. Nafisa has also gone on to write a book on how to make money, published by HarperCollins. Ismail, he spoke at our Diversity in FinTech panel. Back then, this was before he was doing his startup. He was working at a startup dealing with interest-free loans. He went on to found Scoodle, funded by the Twitter co-founders and also Google, and they've helped lots of students learn. They've now pivoted and are basically helping creators teach with their platform, LiveLink. On that same panel, we had Daniel. Daniel, back then, was working in the Islamic finance space. He's gone on to found Facet in the kind of crypto emerging markets. Again, raised a lot of money, living it up in Dubai, and also done super well as well. We've had Muz, or back then, it was known as Muzmatch. We had a fireside chat with them back then when they're just coming back from Y Combinator, again, very early on in their startup journey. Now they have millions and millions of single Muslims on their platform looking for love and have raised also a lot of money. But, you know, it's not just about the founders, it's about the everyday people as well. We had Abby speak on one of our panels, and Mozambique Makers was her first speaking gig ever. And what we try to do is curate that safe space for our members. And ultimately, what that basically means is people build their confidence. I always say Mozambique Makers is the first step in someone's journey. So today, you guys have come. There's probably something that will happen today that will lead you on to do something. Maybe you'll found a business. Maybe you'll get a new job. Maybe you'll meet someone. Who knows, right? There's a lot of things that can happen, and that first step is where we really, I say, is kind of where we really play. Our work, isn't just events. There's some upskilling stuff that we do as well, and it's all focused on being a community. In terms of our milestones, 2016 to 2019, I would say is where we really established ourselves as one of the first Muslim meetups in the London tech scene, really focused in tech, partnering with various companies. 2020, lockdown came, so you can imagine all our events kind of having to all pivot and become virtual. And we decided to do like a careers program, because a lot of our community will also be made redundant. So we kind of helped to teach them about different kind of tech careers. 2021, we kind of secured a bit of a grant to help scale the organization. We partnered with the Aziz Foundation to give tech scholarships to kind of coding boot camps and a design boot camp. And finally, we were able to restart our meetups post-pandemic. 2022, we did courses in Introduction to Data Science, Introduction to Product Management, and we finally launched our chapters. But what do I mean by that? Chapters ultimately are run by the community for the community where they are. So we started in London in 2016, and there have been tons of volunteers that have helped to put on our events through the last 8 years. People have come and gone and have just done everything to really build out that London community. Then Manchester, established 2022, but really it should have been 2020. We actually had an event and everything scheduled, but due to COVID, we had to obviously not go ahead. But in 2022, we finally made it happen. And actually, some of the Manchester team are actually here in the crowd, so thank you for coming down. And Manchester is a heavily Muslim demographic and also a thriving tech scene as well. Then came our first international chapter, Boston in America. Now, this was really special. The fact that we had actually members that I hadn't even met before, just loved the vibe, loved the community, and wanted to bring it to across the pond. And one of the chapter leads actually recently came to London and was able to kind of network with the London community here as well. Then came Toronto, Canada. So one of our members actually, London member, moved to Toronto, Canada, really missed the Mozambique Makers vibe, and basically established a chapter there. But that's not it. We've got UAE in the cards. They've already hosted a female-only dinner. Dublin, Birmingham. Maybe your city's here, maybe Istanbul, who knows, right? If you're interested in setting up a chapter, come talk to me because we're really keen in spreading the Mozambique Makers magic everywhere. Community is a real kind of foundation, It's the community members that are actually the people behind putting on these meetups. And the fellows are a part of that. So we have a Slack community. So by having all these local grassroots communities, they all feed into our Slack community, which then means you benefit from an international community. It's a mixture of professions, 39% female, which is quite high actually in the tech world, and really represents lots of different ethnicities as well. Our fellowship program really basically hones into that. What that basically means is we understand that some people want to set up a business, some people want to get into coding, some people are into design. But how do we actually nurture all of that? So we have fellows from those disciplines on a 6-month program, and they basically help build mini communities within the Slack. So they'll basically put on specific events around coding or design, online and offline, meaning international people can also benefit. And it just means that actually you get to double down and you actually end up having people to directly reach out to as well. We also have our Level Up Home Mentoring platform. It's a work in progress, but you can speak to Adil at the store. Ultimately, we want to build a platform to help Muslim mentors connect. And then today, the Muslim Tech Fest. Hassan already spoke about it, about how this event came to be. Hassan came to our event, and actually Zahid always had this idea around Muslim Tech Fest. He was like, hey, I think we should do this big thing, and he just went and built a landing page, and I was like, yep, cool. And then Hassan came along, and we were like, oh, we have this amazing venue, and little did I know it was going to be this historic venue where the likes of Brian Cox have spoken on this very stage. So I think that's the main thing. The main thing is, that to me, encompasses the fact that the power of our people being in spaces where often we might traditionally not belong. And the power of micro-actions in terms of what everybody can do to either open a door or make something happen. So you all have the power to do something. So in terms of, where next with Mozambique Makers, it's really with all of you. Maybe you have a small business and you can sponsor. Maybe you could work in a big tech company and you could get us into the corporate sponsorship. Maybe it doesn't have to be financially. Maybe you can mentor someone. Maybe you could run an event. Maybe you can run a workshop. Maybe you could introduce someone to someone in this room. It doesn't have to be to help just Mozambique Makers. It's about helping the community. So I'm going to end on some last powerful words from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The most beloved people to Allah are those who are most beneficial to people. Thank you so much.